Hey everyone, Jetlag here, welcome back. I'm in the Lightning cockpit again, and I got a question on my last video about how to do in-flight refueling and how to get the autopilot working. So I figured I'd touch on a few of the systems, one being navigation, teaching you how to dial in VORs and stuff, and then we'll do some in-flight refueling and follow it up with the using the autopilot. I'm going to go over some of the panels that I'm going to use on this flight before we get up in the air, just to keep the workload down. First thing we're going to use is the TrackIR panel, and this is how we're going to dial in our VOR frequencies. And Aerosoft has provided a frequency list. By hitting Shift F5, you can see that you got all your VOR frequencies on the right side of each column, and then the TrackIR frequency on the left side. So you just find your frequency, like Spokane's is going to be 115.5, so we're going to go to channel 102 on the TrackIR panel, and that's how you use that. Next panel that we're going to use is this IFR panel down here. If you click this fast direct button, it'll get rid of the stick. You can kind of see what we're doing. We're going to use this panel right here for the ILS. The ILS master has to be on. This little flight computer thing, it works, but it doesn't operate, so we're not going to be using it. And then here's all your volume control, and I'll show you how to get rid of the beeping and all that. We're going to be using the navigation display right here. We're going to be changing heading and the runway heading. These two, the comp and the ILS, doesn't work, so we're not going to be using those, but we'll be switching back from this AR position with this runway over to the I call it the navigation display, but it says TAC. It's going to show you how far away you are from a station and its location in reference to you. And then this last position, I'm not quite sure what it does, to be honest with you, but we'll leave that right there for now. And then lastly, the autopilot panel. A quick thing about the autopilot is when you turn the master and the stab switch on, you're going to come over to the stick and flip the autopilot select switch. You're going to engage that, and you do that before you touch these white buttons. And then we might use the IFF panel for to get a squawk code. I might need to be vectored into Seattle, but we'll see how that goes. The weather shouldn't be too bad. It's not that bad here in Washington right now. Also, one quick thing, I wanted to go over my route before I started it up. I just wanted to let you guys know this is not a how-to on procedures. This is going to be a very lax, very improper way to fly an IFR route. But we're going to start over here in Spokane and hit the Spokane VOR, and you can see its frequency right there, 115.5. We're going to get on a course of 241 and fly over to Ephrata, which has a frequency of 112.6. We'll switch over to that after we get out of the Spokane area. But we'll switch over to that, and then when we get near it, we're going to hit the Victor 120, or remain on the Victor 120, and turn to a course of 252, and go direct to the Seattle VOR. Again, the weather's pretty good over in Seattle. Got some scattered clouds at 3,000. Temperatures above freezing. Everything looks good. The winds are fairly calm. 200 at 8 knots, so it looks like we're going to be coming in from the north and then land on 16 left. As for Spokane, calm winds and a few clouds here and there, and just below freezing. So that's the route. I'm going to do everything relaxed. I'm not an instrument rated pilot, by the way, but I know how to do IFR stuff, but I don't know it by the book, so don't quote me as knowing everything I'm doing here. But let me get back to the cockpit and I'll get it started up. Hydro's out. Lighting. JPT coming up. RPM rising. Nozzle position is good. Oil light is out. Fuel light is out. Okay, starting 2. Throttle 10%. Starting 2. Hydro's out. Lighting 2. JPT coming up, RPM rising, and nozzle position good. Good light. Oil out. And fuel out. So we're fired up and ready to go here. Go ahead and taxi to the EOR. Okay, so before we take off, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to dial in the first VOR. First frequency is 115.5, and I told you it was channel 102. There we go. 115.5. You can see where it's locked in. And you get a tone. Now to get rid of that tone, I've kind of had to play around with it. The manual and the forums say just flip the ILS volume knob and that should disable it all. Or turn that to off, but that still won't work. What I found out, you have to turn it all the way to the right and then back to off. And that should disengage it. We are on 2-1. Okay. 85, they're coming up together. Good. Release brakes. Afterburner. Airspeed's coming up. 100 knots checked and cross-checked. 50, pulling back. Brakes, gear, and flaps. Afterburner, keep it around 250, keep on climbing. Trim it out, good trim. The outer marker here. Another thing, you can see I've turned the ILS volume up. First off, I'm not even tuned into an ILS, and it's still giving me that the identifiers. Hopefully that turns them off, but I doubt it. We should get the outer as we go over the VOR, but I don't know, that might have fixed it. We're over it. We're going to go ahead and turn to 241. Didn't work. So we're going ahead and 241 right now. I'm going to back it off. I'm going to try and level out at 16,000. But I'm not very good at being that precise with this airplane. As you can see, it sneaks up on me real fast. There we go. Come on. Oh, it was a fluke, honestly. Okay, so now that we're leaving Spokane, I'm going to tune to 112.6 for a Freda. And that is channel 73. And 112.6. And we are 63 miles away, and you can see our little bubble is just beyond 60 miles. Everything looks good. So we'll track that station. And in this aircraft, the VORs and the distance measuring equipment, the DME works, obviously, but the VOR, you can't really track it using a course, and you know, you line up the needles and stuff. You want to drop it. So I get distracted. You got to watch this thing. But you have to use it more like an NDB. You just follow the lines, and it'll get you to that station if you keep going. So you have to kind of keep track of the wind. Your wind will blow you off course, and then you'll make this big sweeping arc towards the station. But it'll get you there. So I'll go ahead and do in-flight refueling, and for that we have to slow down between 250 and 300 knots, and we have to be above 10,000 feet and below 35,000 feet. So you can see my ventral tank down on the right is just above 400 pounds. Not much left in it at all. It goes through it quick. Okay, so we're about 275 right now. We'll keep it about there. So once you're in that window, that envelope, just reach over and flick flight refuel. See our ventral tank is on, and it should be filling up. There it goes. So we're pointed at the VOR, and we're taking on fuel, and this airplane is happy. So our ventral light is out, and looks like we're just topping off. Everything is good. Okay, flip that off. Heading is okay, altitude sucks. And next up I'll show you the autopilot. You want to go ahead and flip on the master switch and the stab switch, and make sure you're holding your altitude instead of going all over the place. Then, like I said in the beginning, you want to hit your stick switch. Now we can hit height, make sure our heading is okay, and hit heading, and it should follow it. And it's going to kind of freak out a little bit at first, but it'll kind of find itself and get all corrected up. So in real life, the way this autopilot system, well, not the autopilot, but the flight director, that little bubble that you saw, it moved from here down to the center, that's what the pilot followed. The way that was controlled back in the day during the Cold War, the ground radar station would lock onto a target for the pilot, and the ground station would send up the signal to the plane, and the pilot just had to follow the dot, and it would take him directly towards the target. So in flight sim, it's not modeled that way. It's obviously just modeled as a flight director. We're level at 16,000, and I'm going to go ahead and push it up to about Mach 0.95. Range is about 26 miles, and we're just outside of the 20-mile ring. There's the station, there's the VOR, and here we are. This indicator right here, I kind of joked around in my first video about how I thought that was the flap indicator at first when I first started flying this jet, and I've learned this is actually the trim, the stab position. So if we go outside, you can see that stab is pretty level right now. And it is, if you think of that gauge, you got a white dash up here and a white dash down here, and then that middle area. And I think that's what that represents. The manual doesn't go into this. This is just speculation based off of my prior experience with real gauges like this. I think this is the normal operating window, and then these are the limits. So that needle should never go past these dashes, and if it does, you probably are looking at a good problem, or aircraft loss maybe. But it'll move around with you if you hit the trim, or if you tell it to climb or dive. You'll see that needle moving around. But we're 8 miles away from Ephrata, and we're kind of off course. So go ahead and dial in Seattle, which is 116.8. Back to our menu here, and 116.8, channel 115. 116.8, 120 miles away. Okay. A little bit south of our course. The way I determine our course, which is supposed to be 252, if you put that track on the heading that you want, then you're going to be on course. That's how I've been doing it, and it works pretty good. Yeah, flying through the clouds is cool. So we're going to kind of head north here and let that line drop down just a little bit, and then we'll intercept it. So EAT right there. I've actually flown to that airport in real life for part of my pilot training. It was my solo cross country. I did a touch and go at Moses Lake, which we've passed already. I don't know if you can see it. It's somewhere out there. But I did a touch and go at Moses Lake, and then I came over to Pangborn Memorial. And Pangborn was an officer in World War I who gave Pappy Boyington his first ride in an airplane when Pappy was like 5 or 6 years old. So you got Pangborn Memorial here, and then you've got over in Coeur d'Alene, you got Pappy Boyington Field. I think it's Field. Something. But it's named after him. I thought that was pretty interesting. You got two airports with pretty significant people that close together. And Spokane, the reason its name is GEG, or its identifier code is GEG, is because it was named after a pilot named Geiger, who was also a World War I pilot. Okay, looks like we're on course now. Just bring the aircraft back to heading 252. You can see our little flight director telling the autopilot where to go. Everything's looking good though. So it looks like the forecast, or the weather in Seattle currently is the winds are coming from 190, so almost dead south at about 7 knots. We'll definitely be landing 16 left, and visibility is good. Got a few clouds at 1,100, scattered at 3,000, and temperatures are good. We won't need to use that garbage ATC system that Flight Sim has blessed us with. So there we go. We got Boeing Field coming in right there, and then Seattle right there. SeaTac. Just under 80 miles away. Okay, looks like we're about 60 miles away from Seattle now. We're about 45 miles out. I'm going to vector myself north of the airport. Go to a heading of 330. And we'll take her down to about 8,500. Woo, look at that thing bank. Does not play around. So there you can see that needle working its magic. Fluctuating, keeping the airplane level. We're not going to need that soon. Let's go 310. Well, that'll be enough. Okay, we're going to take it down. I have noticed that I've got it set to minus 2,400 feet per minute, and it's barely going to do 1,000 feet. I don't know what's up with that. I wonder if this says something. Nope. we're obviously not doing over 2,000 feet a minute, so I don't know what this little guy's smoking, but oh well. So it looks like we're starting to siphon off of our main tanks. We're about 1,800 pounds in each wing. If you have to do a missed approach or go around, you're kind of in for a bad time. I did that on the last video that I was trying to make of this scenario. I was coming into Seattle and I screwed it up bad, and I didn't have this ILS master switch on, so I never got a reading for the runway and did a missed approach, got over the Puget Sound, and ran out of fuel. And my fault. If you have to go around, I would advise going up to 10,000 feet and just hitting the tanker real quick, since you know how to do that now. Get some gas and then come back down and try it again. I didn't. I forgot that little switch and I paid for it. I wound up ejecting. And you can imagine how many activists are over in Seattle. How many people did not like an airplane crashing into their wildlife habitats. Okay, I'm going to pause it and then bring over the approach plate for 16 left. Again, I'm not going to follow this to the T. We're going to approach from the northeast and head southwest. We're going to pick up the localizer, cross over Boeing Field, and head on down to the runway. Frequency is 110.3, approach course is 163. And one thing I noticed that was pretty interesting, 110.3, this is the TACAN channel in real life, and it is channel 40. When I show it to you in the simulator, it's going to be channel 40 also. So I don't know if they actually base these frequencies off of real life or if it just coincidentally matched up, but I thought that was pretty cool. I'll have to look at that with other frequencies and see if these TACAN channels really are set to specific frequencies. That's what we're going to be doing. So I'll go ahead and plug those in. 110.3, like I said, it is channel 40. Just to show you, there it is. On 0.3, now we're going to switch over to AN, and there's our fake runway. Oops, nope, don't want to do that yet. Wrong one. So the sync knob, the short end of the fake runway is the departure end, and this is the approach end. So if the airplane was following it, it would come in like this. And you can see approach course is 163, so we're going to flip that over to 163, and you can see the short end is heading to where we need to go. So we can zoom in here a little bit. So we're right here on the radar. Don't let this confuse you. This is kind of an artificial horizon for when pilots were looking down in the boot. When you're looking down in there, you obviously can't see your instruments. So this tells you if your wing's level or climbing or diving. But that is not where your aircraft is located. This is where your aircraft is, down at the bottom here. Okay, we picked up the localizer. It's not alive yet, but we picked it up. 250 knots, we're at 3,400. We're going to take it down to 2,400, so another 1,000 feet to go. Okay, so Boeing should be right here. And then there's SeaTac. Could be wrong, but I think that's about 90% accurate. Once we get established on the localizer, I'll go ahead and show you the auto throttle. It doesn't do too well in turns, but it keeps you about 180 knots. It's one speed, one set, that's it. And then we'll try playing around with the auto land. I'm kind of scared to do that, but hey, we'll give it a shot. Looks like we're going to be lining up pretty soon here. You can see your glide slope right there at the top. Obviously it'll come down, get right in the middle, and then your localizer will come over. Just put it straight down that little runway. You'll be good to go. Go ahead and hit the auto throttle. There we go, it's on. You can see the throttles go back. Bring it down a little. Go ahead and throw out the speed brakes. Yep, I get it. And they're going back up. Go ahead and do gear down, flaps down. Autopilot's not going to like it too much. Okay. Glide slope's coming on. Localizer's in. Let's hit track and glide slope. And it looks like it's somewhat working. So my hands are completely off, and it's kind of an eerie feeling, but you know, it seems to be working really good. So it's going to kind of play around with it. I'm going to go ahead and take it off of autopilot and auto throttle and do the rest here myself. Oh, we're landing the wrong way. Oops. So, gears down, flaps down. Speed brakes are out. Landing checklist is complete. Speed's down to 165, that's good. Sorry about that, I'm getting this little cough over the winter months. It's kind of starting to annoy me. There's our enter. Yeah, shut it off. Thank you. That must be enter marker. Oh, damn. That was a little harder than I wanted, but oh well. Parachute's out. 737 is rolling. I got all day, buddy. Yeah, that's right. Lift off. Don't do that in real life. FAA kind of gets mad at you. Yeah, nothing like a 4G landing. Okay, we'll stop here and clean up the plane. Flaps up. Maybe not. Speed brakes in. Release the chute. reset the trim. Just gonna go ahead and park it straight ahead. Oh yeah, probably turn off my radio or radar so we don't nuke anybody on the ground. No kids for you. Sorry, buddy. Bring that back to idle. Right click. Shut everything down. And okay, everyone, I hope that video taught you a lot, and let me know if there's something better I could do for the next video, or let me know what you liked about this video. I appreciate you checking it out, and you guys have fun out there. Thanks.